Another thing that I learned through some of the incidents that I've experienced during this winter season is how Turo's roadside assistance actually works. And this was my first time experiencing this. In the past, I have had cars get towed that were in accidents, and it's really never crossed my mind to kind of do further research into how roadside assistance works, because it was always the renter who got into an accident and they would call Turo support line and they would get a tow, and that was the end of the story. But recently, one of my renters um, called and complained that the car's brakes had gone out and that the brakes weren't working properly, which I thought was a little bit of an odd complaint, knowing which car it was. And I had just driven it right before the start of his rental and everything was fine. So it was just a really bizarre complaint that I got. The guy was up in Los Angeles, about an hour and a half to 2 hours from where I live, and he had taken the car out into the canyons. And looking at his driving report, he was driving pretty aggressively, exceeding 105 miles per hour through the canyons, which is already sort of a rough area to drive through. And so when he called and made that complaint, of course, for safety reasons, if in fact it was true, I did tell him to, just go ahead, park the car, I'll Uber you back. And then if that is the case, I'll have the car towed and make sure we get it taken care of and find out what's going on. So the more I looked into sort of his driving history through my tracker that was on the car, the more I got the feeling that maybe he was kind of making this up and that this wasn't the case. Regardless, I went ahead and called Turo and I asked them about getting the vehicle towed since it was so far from where I was. And one of the things that I figured out in my quest of how roadside assistance works, because no one seemed to be able to tell me when I called Turo. I got transferred probably 5 different times. They transferred me through their emergency department, their claims department, their billing department, their customer service department. It was crazy. No one could kind of give me a straight answer. But in the end, I figured it out. So basically, if the renter is the one to request for the tow, then they are responsible for the bill. And Turo only covers 15 miles of towing. And after that, their newest updated per mile fee is $5.50 per mile that the car gets towed after 15 miles, which is crazy. Um, and so usually if the renter is the one to get into an accident and they call for the tow, then they're the ones that are responsible for the bill. So when I called in, I was trying to ask them, how much it's going to cost. Am I responsible? Does my insurance cover any of it? And the answer is that your insurance through Turo does not cover any roadside assistance help. And if you are the one to call for the tow, what they do is the day of, you don't have to pay anything and they'll get the car towed. Then they kind of investigate what went on and see who's responsible, and whoever is responsible, whether it's you or the renter, then that's the person that gets billed. Given that that guy had left my car about 2 hours away, I think it was about 80 miles from where I was definitely not about to have it towed, at least not through Turo. So, long story short, in regards to that incident, I ended up driving up there to go pick up my car. Car was totally fine and perfect working condition. I think this guy was just trying to scam me out of having to pay for his rental because he was adamant about getting a refund. But, anyways, I settled that with Turo. In instances like that, just for your information, what Turo will do is they will require you to go get a diagnostics done of your car. And as long as the report comes back clean that everything was good, then of course they will rule it in your favor and not make you issue any type of refunds or anything like that. Turo did reimburse me for even the Uber ride that I paid for to get the guy back to his car, and so on and so forth. But just so you know, that is how roadside assistance works. Somebody is going to foot the bill, and it just depends on what went on that required the tow. So you definitely don't want to get stuck with that bill, and I'm so glad that I didn't get stuck with it and that I went instead and picked up my car. All right, thanks, guys.